Hello all and welcome to Economic Board Games, the channel. Today I'm going to be giving you a run through of this game here, Peak Oil, a game about crisis and profit. It's brought to you by Two Tomatoes and you can see the design is at the bottom there. Now I did an overview of this recently, so I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty. Instead I'm going to go and show you how it plays. There's only me here today and I'm going to be taking on 3 players, so bear with me if I do make any glaring errors, but hopefully this video will give you a chance to see how the actions work and just a little bit more about the game. And I'll explain the rules as I go along rather than spending 10 minutes on the outset. So what have we got? We've got the main board here. You've got the actions at the bottom. I'll try not to shake the camera too much. Expand, develop, invest, grey ops, and you can go onto the main board to ship as well. Today I'm playing with yellow, orange and green. We've got some great names: Platypus Petroleum, Juban Oil Corporation and King Oil. And just above you can see each player has a selected private portfolio. Now obviously in a normal game these would be secret, but you can see what everyone's got, so a bit of variety, and that's key really, because throughout most of the game a lot of the other options are kind of abstract, because if you keep a close eye on what people are buying from these technologies on the far right, you kind of have a rough idea what people are aiming to set collect for the win. So these are quite important. You've got the areas that you'll be getting oil from and put it on the board, so Gulf region, Libya and Venezuela. And to begin with, you take a couple of cards, 1 per player from the oil fields, and you pop those to begin with on the board. So we can see Nigeria started with 1, Libya's got 2 and Russia's got 2 oil barrels at the top, and you randomly set up all these tokens as well. Now because this is a 3-player game, Venezuela will be covered up, and the one at the top here, what's that, hydrogen cells, will be out of use as well. And that kind of tells you on here what's going on. So 3-player game, we're going to have 3 red barrels, 3 yellow barrels, which are the PR crisis, and 20 black barrels as well. The marketing, you can see that's 3, 2 and 2. So we've got all our consultants at the top here, which are kind of just out of camera view, but they are there. So let's begin then. Each of our companies has 1 oil barrel, so that represents your money as well. Now the first option you can see for yellows is step 1, take an action or reassign an agent. Now no one has got actions to take, so I'm just gonna plonk one of these yellows onto expand. Now expand is pretty much where you recruit your extra dudes. So you can see just at the top of the board there's only 2 more to get, but it kind of gives you that extra power, because as you'll watch throughout this game, it's about area influence and getting the majorities to be able to take the most actions. So if you do have a majority on a spot, you get to take both the actions, in this case recruit and dispatch, and you can see each of the options have got 2 actions on them. Now if you are tied, you can only take 1 of them, and you do have to take a barrel from the bag, which is just down here, and that gives you a risk of getting those PR crises, which you don't really want to attain, because they've got negative points and they hinder your growth. So I should probably say that in this game you are acting as CEOs for the company, and you're trying to develop and invest in alternative fuel sources. Just on the far, I'll just turn this camera around so you can see you got agropolymers, tidal power, SPMR and ethanol at the top as well. So you're investing in them, and you're set collecting these little barrels on the bottom here as well, and you're kind of adding it all up at the end, which will make sense shortly. So they have done step 1, which was taking reassign an agent. Step 2 is you reassign an agent, so they could move this one as well, and we're gonna put it on the same spot. We'll try and secure that one. So you could also, if you wanted to spend 2 barrels, if you can just see at the bottom end of your turn, you can pay 2 barrels to reassign an agent, which is costly but can be worth it at the right moment in the game. So over to orange, goes clockwise. What are they going to do, eh? So they kind of know that yellows have committed to that one. They could just go and, well, investing's cheap at the moment, because as you go through the game, you want to be buying these because they match, well in this case orange is looking for sort of some of these colours, so they might be interested in the tidal power, because the more you set collect of these, multiplied by however many oil barrels you actually have on the investment is how you get your points. So let's just show you how that one works. And so they're going to go to invest, and they're going to be buying a starter, which is what these three are called here. And the second one, let's just say they go there as well. So over to greens, let's just check them on a different action. Let's go in develop, so I'll send both there. And then pretty much that's it. We go back to yellow player, and this sort of keeps on going. And yellow can now, step one, take an action or assign. So they're going to take an action, and it's going to be this expand one. So you can see if it focuses in there, they get to do both options, recruit and dispatch, because they are the majority. Recruiting is literally just taking an extra dude. We plonk that on their headquarters so they can use that for next time. And dispatch is where we get to move these two agents to another action and do it immediately. So what do we want to do? Let's just go and drill. So they have got a tie, which in this case means they have to take a barrel from the bag. So let me do so. Hopefully it's not a red one. Oh, we've got a black barrel. So one black barrel, they then put that on the market spot. So you can see this is the black market, all these little sort of black skulls, and they've got to choose one to put it on. Now once all these spots are full, those barrels will come onto the board. But interestingly, you want to be careful where you choose, because if anyone goes to this grey ops option here, they can move the barrels, a black market action, from all the spots these barrels are onto the technologies. So if I look at yellow in this case, they're probably focusing on these three colours at the moment. So let's go for the agro polymers instead, because they haven't actually got a card on the tidal. So if it does happen, at least the barrel's there. So they have pulled one from the bag because it was a tie, and they get to either drill or whitewash. Now I'll start with whitewash. Whitewash would be where you'd remove one of these PR crisis you've attained, and that means you can kind of get rid of it, which stops you having the negative effects. But in this case, they're going to drill, which means they take one of these cards here, or you can just remove those and put them at the bottom of the pack and reset them with another 3. Now what these mean are, so you can see at the top you've got a little star symbol, that's a security symbol, and basically you get one of these tokens, and that lets you move stuff on the board to favour your position for you. What are they going to go for then? So they usually, you look at these little symbols at the bottom, and in this case yellow don't really want, well maybe they want this little symbol here because that matches this one, so they're going to go for this card. Now it's Venezuela, which actually shouldn't be in the game. I've just spotted that. So you can see on the side here in the 2-3 play game, you're meant to remove all these cards with this on. So let me just get rid of that and replace it, and hopefully we don't come across any more. So they don't actually want, oh, they could do this green one. That green symbol matches this one here. So let's just go for Libya. So they're not going to get a security symbol. They have one barrel they have to remove from the bag, but it's not classed as pulling. So you can see the question mark basically means you have to pull something from the bag, and a full symbol, oh, I've accidentally taken a red out, means you just look in the bag and you take a barrel. So we're going to put a barrel onto Libya. So now there's 3 barrels on there, and let me just focus the camera. They're going to take this card. Now they may, if they wish, pull another what should we say, an oil from the bag, but there's obviously a risk to that of taking a PR crisis, and they're not going to do so. They might really want to because they want to get more oil on Libya to fulfill one of those shipping. So this card would normally go face down, and I'll just put it kind of, I'll put it out of the way here. So that is, they're on their way to collecting these symbols, and say if the game ended now, there'd literally be 1 times 1 is 1 point, because there isn't actually any barrels on the technology spotter for there as well. So that is that. We replenish. They completed this action, so their dudes go back to their HQ, and that was step 1. Step 2 is to reassign an agent, so they can move one of these and plonk it somewhere else on the board, or if they did have an agent out there, they could move that as well. So they're going to go to Libya because they've just drilled there, and hopefully try and fulfill one of these contracts. So you can see, looking a bit closer, there's 3 barrels there, and you want to ship your barrels along the white lines. So they could essentially ship it along this white line up to Rotterdam, and this circle is demand, so they're demanding free oil, and the number at the bottom is what's on the opposite side, because these chips get flipped as you've used them. And you can see on the way they're going to have to face the consequence of this one here. They could equally go along this line here if they wanted to and fill demand there at free, but that means they're going slightly further and they have to do a little bit more with the chips there. So that's kind of how they're going to ship oil. So they've done step 2, and they don't have enough barrels to do step 3, which they don't really want to anyway. So over to orange, step 1 action. So they're going to show you this invest option. So they are the majority, and a startup is where you literally buy one of these free available. And let's have a look what orange is after. So I guess they'd be after that tidal wave one. Now they can do both options here because they are majority. Technologies is where you, I've completely forgotten now. I think it's where you put a barrel on one of these. I'm just going to double check that in the rules. Technology, where are you? Startups. You place one barrel from your HQ on a technology track. Perfect. So they've only got one barrel to begin with. Do they really want to put it on there? Why not, eh? Let's just go mad. So invest startup, they're going to pick this one up, and that costs them 0 because there are no barrels on the tidal wave, and they are on their way to collecting. So you can see they've got 2 of these, and they're also going to do the technology option, which is where they put one of their barrels, and hell, we're going to go on the tidal option, make it more expensive. If that will zoom in, make it more expensive for everyone else. So that is their step 1. And they've completed the action, so they take these back to the HQ. Step 2 is reassign an agent. So let's just go and cause a bit of mischief on the greens there. Not that they're majority yet, but okay. So that was step 2. Over to greens and action. They're going to be doing this develop one. What should we do then? So greens are after. So they've got tidal wave. They've got one of these agros, and they've got an SPMR. And I think tidal might be the way forward. Now they don't want to put more oil in Libya, there's plenty there. Maybe they'll go for the Gulf region, which will get them free barrels. So let me show you this card here. So they're going to go for Gulf region, so they're going to get one of those security symbols. So that's one of these, and we'll plonk that on their HQ. They take the Gulf region, we'll put that out the way here, which means we take 3 barrels from the bag. So this isn't classed as pulling. Now there's only 20 to begin with, so you can see we've already used like 4 or so. So taking the drilling for oil option really speedens the game up, so it's something you have to be mindful. Now they do have the option then, so looking at that Gulf card, to take a further 2, which they're not going to because they don't really want to get a PR crisis. But if you were desperate for oil out there, you could do that option. Now I'm just going to replenish that card we took, and we've got another Gulf region. So where were we? They did an action. They are the majority, so they could choose to whitewash if they wanted to, but they're not going to. And step 2 is to move one of these out, and let's just go in bother the orange there, so they haven't got a majority. Now you can only have a maximum of 5 pawns or agents, so we call them, on one of these spots. So 3 is that magic number. Once you've got 3 there, you know no one can really mess with you. But some of these consultants at the top, I can't remember which one it is, lets you have 1 more majority there as an agent. So some really nice stuff up there. I shouldn't really forget about them. Where are we then? So greens have had their go. Over to yellows, and I apologise if I'm making silly mistakes in terms of missing someone. It can be quite tricky managing 3 players on your own. But yellows, they are going to, so you can see the power play now. They could really just go straight there, and that is messing with greens and oranges. But do they really want to drill? And as well, in terms of numbers, you can see there's 4 agents there, so green or orange could only take a maximum of 1 more there before it's 5 spots. And that's crucial later on in the game, because if you really need to get that oil out, yellow's scuppered you, because they can't actually take the action yet, so they're just kind of stuck there. and it affects the other guys from actually doing 2 options. So in this case, they won't be able to get rid of one of these PR crisis, which I'll kind of just show you one of them now in case I don't get a chance later. So you can see newsflash, troubling reports, PR crisis level 1, minus 1 VP, public scrutiny. You may not spend security chips and take a shipping action on the same turn. Now those security chips then, so the Greens did acquire one, would basically mean you could change one of these for one of those anywhere around the board, or you could flip one of these demand tokens. So say if you really wanted a demand of 4, because when you complete these shipping options, that oil goes into your HQ, which is great because that means you can spend it on investing in different technologies. So we were on yellow. They have gone. I don't think we're going to take them to develop because they don't actually really want to do that. They want to start getting some of these startup technologies. Right, I've just realised I need to replenish this one here. Edris ethanol. So some cracking names in this game, folks. So you kind of need to pay attention and read them sometime. A subdivision of Slim Grots Inc. Fantastic. So they have moved there, which was a sign. Now I just realised I'd moved 2 of them out. You should only move 1. And for the step 2, we'll reassign that second agent as well. Over to oranges. Now they are they going to do this action? Do they really want to drill? I don't think so. I think they're probably just going to reassign. Now you could be really sneaky here. I just spotted yellow didn't do their shipping option. I ended up wasting it by moving it here. So I've missed a trick there, but let's do something a bit interesting. Orange is actually going to reassign for step 1, and they're going to reassign their step 2. So they've snuck in and got majority at Libya for this oil. Very sneaky. Over to greens. They could... what they're going to do. So they've got an agent here. I'm just going to go and show you something different, really. So let's go over to grey ops, and they're going to, for doing, well, they haven't done the action yet. They don't have to pay that oil just yet, I believe. They're going to take their other agent there as well. So back over to yellows now. They're really frustrated because they can't do this yellow option because they're not majority. Do they want to counterbalance it and fight it off because there's still 2 spots available? They could literally reassign a step 1 and reassign a step 2, and that's fine. There's 5 agents there. Now orange has been ousted, so oil is valuable on the board, and you do really have to make the opportune actions at the right time to get that oil onto your board, because it acts as a resources oil on the board, as well as I believe it's something like $1 trillion or something like that on your HQ. So that's their 2 goes down. Orange is like, no, I'm stuck out here and I can't actually do anything. So are they going to reassign and give it up? I guess so. So they're going to reassign. Let's go to invest as well, and maybe they want to take another one on to recruit because they want to get another dude out. Over to greens, they're going to do a grey ops action just to show you what this is. So they pay a barrel. They do have 1 barrel, and that will go on one of these little pirate ones. Now what are they invested in then? So they have these 3 here. So tidal wave's always on the go. You have to fill one of the empty spots. Let's just go tidal wave. They're probably helping the orange player. So they've put that on there, and they now are majority, so they get to do the black market option, which is, so remember, when all these are full, they go onto the board on all one each on all of the black spots. But instead, the black market's sneaky. It moves them across onto the actual technologies, which is how you're scoring points at the end. And consultants, they get to buy one of these as well. Well, not buy, you just kind of get one. Now you work your way up from the bottom up to level 2 and level 3. So what have we got then? Local representative. During your turn on each region where you already have at least 1 agent, you're considered to have 1 more agent. That was the card I was talking about. Very nice. Place on your HQ one of your agents from the supply. Nice. And a branding strategist. You know I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to take this one because I know that's pretty nifty. Now this stays with you throughout the entirety of the game. That was with greens. Plonk it there. And that basically means on your turn, the region where you already have at least 1 agent, you consider to have more agents. So these are the regions out on the board. So if I had have been on this one with the 2 oranges, that would have been a number of 3, which would have actually matched these. So that would have been interesting, which means you would have owned. The only difference would have been you'd have to take a barrel from the bag rather than just getting that action on its own. So the greens, they have done both actions. And let's take these two back to HQ. Over to yellows then. I apologise if the camera's a little bit shaky. I'm trying to do a lot of things at once here. So yellows are going to do the shipping action. Let's show you how this works then. So they are majority, and they are going to take that oil over to Rotterdam. So their demand is free. So that oil is going to travel along this path and it's going to head over to Rotterdam. Now on the way we have to face this. What does that mean? You have to pull one barrel from the bag. So let's do that now. Now if it's hopefully not a red or a yellow, oh, we've pulled a black barrel. So that will go onto one of these spots here again, and they've all been emptied, and that's that done. So we then flip over, and you can see on the opposite side it should be a 0 because it kind of reminds you at the bottom. We have completed the demand for Rotterdam, so that swaps over as well. So next time they'll only be demanding 2. All these oil barrels will go over to Yellow's HQ, so they've got a nice little sum of 4. They take all their agents back as well. Now looking at the board, if you'd have come across any of these pirate symbols, that basically means one of those oil would have been taken from those delivered and put onto one of these pirate spots, the black market as well. So sort of diminishing your supply really. And that is it. But you can see that oil is now gone from the board, which is why it's important to go drilling. But if you do it too fast, there's only 20 black barrels in the bag, and once all those black barrels have gone, that triggers game end, which is essentially called peak oil, and you will do one more reassign onto any spot you want, and then you'll work your way along and you'll do your last action based on the majority first. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself there. So yellow, where were we? We did an action which was shipping. Step 2, we get to reassign. Let's just go and mess with orange and make sure they don't have majority there. Over to oranges, reassign. They're going to actually do an action, and we've already shown you recruit and dispatch, so let's just do this. Well, I've shown you this one as well, but startups, you can, if you want, just replenish all 3 if you don't like them. And what are they after then? So it's kind of hiding under here. There's no tidal waves. They're after a brown, and they're actually after this oil symbol one as well, and there is one available, so they're going to take that one. And currently that is not going to cost them anything because there's no barrels on there. Now if there was, say, 4 barrels, that is going to cost you 4 barrels to buy and invest into that technology, which is very expensive, which is kind of why you want to do this technologies option to prevent other players from getting into your industries as well. So they've purchased that one, and they move their dude back to the HQ, and they could also do the technology option, but they have no oil barrels to put on there, so they're probably going to go and consider shipping. And at the moment there's a bit of oil on the Gulf region and a bit in Russia, so let's replenish that starter. Over to greens, they are probably going to go shipping. They need some oil, so they're going to send one dude out to the Gulf. They do have a security chip as well. Now at the Gulf, they're probably going to be looking to go either to Singapore with the oil for a demand of 3. I very much doubt they're going to want to go all this way to, where are we looking at, Philadelphia, because there's a lot of those tokens on the way. But they're going to spend this security token, maybe not just yet, to flip this over to the other side, which will be more beneficial for them, but they'll save that in case anyone else spends a token and messes with their route. The second one, they're equally going to go there as well and try and prevent other people from going there. Over to yellow, so I'm only going to do a couple more actions of each. I'm not going to play a whole game here. That'll be rather long and probably tedious for you to listen to me for that long, but let's just go one more time round, and then I'll show you the game end, how you score the points. So back to yellow. Action wise, let's just be boring and take another expand, so it's a tie. So they get another dude, which is great. They've managed to get them all. Now they don't have majority, so they can't actually do the dispatch option. You could do either or, you don't have to choose the one from the left always, but importantly, because it's a tie, we do have to take a barrel from the bag. Let's hope it's a red or a yellow, because I want to kind of show you how they operate. Now we have pulled a yellow. So a yellow means you take a PR crisis and you discard this yellow one into the box. If it's a red one, mind, it goes back into the bag. Now you take a level 1 crisis. Oh no, to begin with, well, actually annoyingly, you reduce your barrels by half is the first option. Very strange rule, but it's what it says. So in this case, they've lost 2 barrels, which is very harsh. And what would happen is if you took a PR crisis in future, you take a level 1, you put it face down, and then you'd basically, on the next time you do one, you reveal it, and then the next time you take level 2, and so on. I believe that's how it works. And let's just show you while we're here a level 3. So you can see this is worth -5 corruption. To take any invest or grey ops action, you must pay 1 barrel first, return it to the box. When to take any invest or grey ops action, ouch. So you must pay 1 barrel. Wow, so yeah, you don't want to be getting up to those, folks. Over to, well, yellows, what did they do? They did an action and they can do something else. Let's just go and drill. Oranges, step 1. Let's just go and move to invest. And second option, they're going to go and move to invest. And over to greens for the final time. Let's just show you one more shipping. So they are going to move. Oh, well, first they're going to spend that security token. And they're going to flip this, which now means they just pull one from the bag at random rather than lose one. Is that good or better? I don't know, actually. Maybe they're going to take a risk of getting a PR crisis. So they're going to ship that oil. They take one from the bag, so let's get that out of the way with first. There's not a lot left in here. Oh, they've pulled the black barrel, so that is going to go on one of these of their choice. And we haven't actually experienced it yet, but as I said earlier, once those are full, that brings oil onto the board as well. So they're going to ship this free oil over to Singapore. This actually turns back around because they always flip, and that flips as well. And this goes on their headquarters, the oil, and they've used those 2 dudes, and then they can reassign another dude as well, which is actually quite important because on the final round, where your dudes are, make an impact on what final actions you can do. So that was their last option. Not actually showing you option 3 because no one's really had the barrels to spend, which was, just a reminder, you can pay 2 barrels to reassign an agent. So let's just show you what would happen in the event of scoring. So once all the barrels are out of the bag, the black ones, peak oil hits. Someone would flip over their HQ card and it basically looks like this. And that shows them that they are the person who triggered it. You then get a chance to reassign an agent, or everyone else does, and they move agents along here. So maybe they're like, right, I want to go here, or I want to go here. And then you work your way from left to right. So you get one more chance to do something important, and the majority goes first, and so on. And then finally, you figure out how you score. So let's just take a look at oranges. They seem to have collected a little bit more here. So they add up all their technologies. So you can see they got 2 of these purple. They've got 2 of the tidal, and you would basically look at how many of the oil ones they've dug. I don't actually think they've done any, but let's just cheat and say they have got, let me search through the box. So let's just say they had this one. So if that focuses in, come on. So Russia, they have got 1 of these icons, and then we look at the board, there is 0 there. So currently that is 1 times 1, 2. So that's 2 points. All that work for 2 points. Ouch. And what else have we got? Tidal. This is where we'll hopefully score some more. We've got 1, 2 invested. So we've invested in startups. And these are the 2 to show that. So 2 times 1, 2. And they don't have any cards with the little blue tidal wave. So 2 times 2 is 4 points. And you would also add on any points you've acquired from these specialists. So the more, further you get to top, the more points they're worth. And you could also lose points remember, by the PR crisis, but the barrels aren't actually worth any points. So green here, their 3 barrels would be wasted, so they need to invest that into these technologies. And that's literally how you score, folks. So that is peak oil. Now this game for me is a fabulous economic game that plays really well in that sort of 45-60 minute mark. I enjoy it with 2 players as well, and I've yet really to try at the higher numbers. But yeah, it's a very simple sort of end game with just that set collection of the, you know, the symbols, and you're matching up with the investment. So, but the real meat to this game is where you're competing for majority over spots and the time and of when to assign those agents. When you first start the game, you're kind of looking at this action thing, which is lovely and streamlined, and you're like, what, take an action or reassign? Step 2, reassign an agent. It's just all about reassigning agents, but that is true to the game. That is what this is all about. And I just do like the quirkiness of all the names when you've played it, you know, 3 or 4 times, and you actually start noticing things you hadn't spotted, and just some of the quirky names on here. What have we got? Like power piece by piece, and the board just looks very sort of artistic-y, that simplistic look. And that's it, folks. Peak oil. Take care.